Two. Hey guys, and welcome to episode 81 of the Garage Athlete Show. I am joined by Daniel Fraser, who is just finishing up his lunch, so he's already apologised in advance. But it's New Year, we're in 2023. Apologies that we couldn't get an episode out last week. Like, both me and Dan have been absolutely swamped with work. First kind of 2 weeks of January, everyone and their dog is new year, new me, getting in the gym, getting in the home gym. Like, we saw an influx of, I think it was 100 new members within the home gym group in that, like, in the first week. So very much the traditional, right, December's out of the way, I've got a bit of a health kick kind of going on. But so how are you anyway, Stan? Has 2023 treating you well so far? Oh, I think your mic's gone. Okay, just trying to figure out where Dan's mic's gone. Oh, is it the headphone? Yeah. So while we wait for that, for me, one of the main things that I've done at the beginning of this year is getting back into actually writing down my goals and journaling kind of every day. So I've got this right next to my laptop. Definitely made a major difference for me, just sitting down and basically deciding what I want to achieve over the next 90 days, both in my personal life, my training, as well as my business, just because it has clarified what daily kind of like tasks need to be in there. And I think that's a really, really underrated, not skill, an underrated kind of like thing to do is just to kind of like sit down and actually figure out what you need to be doing on a daily basis to get from where you are to where you want to be. It's very, very easy to lose track of those daily things that you kind of need to do and kind of hit that all or nothing mindset. Wonder if we're back in. So if you want to change your mic on the on Zoom itself. Oh, you're in. You're in. Perfect.
The mic on the what do you call it?
Headphones.
On the laptop doesn't work anymore, so I have to use these earbuds. But then they're out of battery, so I'm gonna have to probably keep switching between the two as we go.
Right. Okay. Well, I'll let you know when your mic disappears anyway. So yeah. Anyways, how is 2023 treating you, dude? Like, I know last week was a bit of a challenge trying to get back into a normal routine and stuff.
It's all right. No, it's fine. I'm kind of happy they're all back at school. Yeah. I think it was just because now, for some reason, on the holidays, they're there on the other side of the week, a week longer. So you have like they're in school till like the 23rd, and then they're off the week after Christmas in like January, which I really don't like, if I'm honest.
No, they do F all in that final week before Christmas anyway. Like, they're just watching movies and colouring.
It was really annoying, but the rumour is they're doing it again this year, so I'm going to try and get away next week.
Right, okay. Yeah, well, for us here, they were off from the 16th to did you go back on the Tuesday? So yeah, they were off on the 16th to the 3rd. So were your guys off until like the 10th then?
Yeah. Fucking forever. It was like shit. Just like, go back to school. Like, you don't need to be home.
Yeah, they're all hyped up on chocolate and new toys, and they're not gonna.
There's like nothing to do. Like, if it was the week before Christmas, there's loads of things you can do. Like in the run up, there's loads. Where it's like January's like, okay then.
Yeah, everything's shut down after everything in retail anyway is shut down after a big December, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's just like mindset wise, you want to get back in the flow, you want to get back to work, you want to get on with it. Whereas, well,
obviously, for us, January, February, March is like a big time of the year. Like, I think for a lot of people, they start thinking about getting back in shape for summer. They've tended to not really think about their health over November, December time, just because it is that run up to Christmas. Like, the whole focus is Christmas. We get past Christmas and then you start thinking, oh, I'm booking summer holidays in. I've probably ate a bit too much. I've drank too much. Things like dry January and vegan January and all that sort of stuff come out, and it's just everybody's focus then tends to kind of go into our sort of area, and all the personal trainers and online coaches crawl out of the woodwork and start throwing out offers on Instagram and Facebook. So yeah,
how's your is it I saw you're doing a 90-day thing, is it?
Yeah, so with Recharge, so I think we did one 2 years ago, wasn't it? So Ryan at Recharge approached me and Jay probably the last week in December and said that he was thinking about kind of doing this challenge. It's slightly different to how we ran it, as in it is literally just an accountability group. So like when we ran it, there was 3 coaches in there. We were setting a training program, and the whole idea was that like we would help you achieve these goals. Whereas this one is more of, right, if you've got a coach, great. It means you can still come in. You're part of the community. If you don't have one of those, there's like a WhatsApp group chat and like a Facebook group and stuff. And then the person who gets the best transformation at the end will get that pot of money sort of thing. I haven't managed to get as many people on it. I think if we do it again, probably do it again a similar sort of time next year. But I reckon, get it to launch about 2 weeks into January and start promoting it all the way through December, so that people know it's coming, get people on a waiting list, and then we'll see how effective it is, whether we actually run a training program with it or just do the accountability side. This one's just a bit of a test. I think running them once a year is probably going to be enough, because of the amount of work that they require. And I think just doing it multiple times, like as you get further into the year, I think we tried to run a second one last year and it ran into the summer holidays, and it was just that brought up a whole new set of problems that we kind of like weren't expecting. So I think we'll probably run them annually, and each time we run it, it'll get better.
Yeah, no, it's good. It'll be good. I've seen a few people on my Instagram. Is it Mark? Is it? And a couple of others pop up. So yeah, it's a great idea.
Yeah. So I think Mark, I think it's 3 of the guys that did the one 2 years ago have kind of come back in. So it was Mark, one of the ladies that did it as well. She's going to kill me because I've forgotten her name. And the guy who won. So that's not Mark. Oh, right, I'm going to have to look his name up now, because that's going to be relevant.
No worries.
But how's your training going, dude?
Yeah, it's all right. It's a bit stop-start. Like I'm trying to. It's so like I guess like everyone that trains, you're trying to find that routine. Like I used to be able to sort of squeeze it in here and there, like during the day. Whereas at the moment, like I'm pretty packed out. If I'm not looking after kids, I'm working. So
yeah,
I either have to train like 8:30 at night, and hand on my heart, I just don't want to like train at 8:30.
Makes sense.
It's just shite. And so it's either I have to do like carve out an hour in the day or do like proper first thing. But yeah, still on the kind of I guess you would say body part split. Like I'm still enjoying that. Like sort of push muscles twice a week, pull muscles twice a week, and then legs on a Wednesday. I'm trying to find legs training which is fitting in. Like I'm now just sort of noticed I turned a corner a couple of weeks ago, like back's not like it was. So
good.
Of course the first thing I think of is let's do some squats. So we'll see. I'm pushing Bulgarians at the moment, but just kind of working like leg days. It's important, but I'm not stepping on stage anytime soon, so I'm not bothered if my legs don't look as big or as strong as I want them to be, because I don't necessarily need them to be. I mean, I still love leg training. I want to improve, but that's not really the priority. So we're okay. But yeah, just kind of just getting them when I can, looking to increase. I switched up my exercises this month because I got a little bit stale, but a little bit bored last month. I run the same exercise for quite a while, but yeah, God, what a difference! Like straight away, like I switched out. What did I bring in? No, I brought in like just flat dumbbell for bench pressing, and like today, like for almost like a week, my chest is so sore. But it's like when you like start training, you're like, this is amazing. Like I love it.
Yeah, I think one thing that I've been experimenting with recently with a lot of clients is like the difference between doing like a whole program switch and just swapping out exercises like when they stall. So what I was finding was that when you do like an entire program switch of like 12 to 16 weeks, it takes 4 to 6 weeks for them to kind of neurologically adapt and get into it, and therefore actually be seeing any sort of like muscle growth. So what I was having to do was, like, if somebody's in a building phase and we did a whole program switch, we'd have to pull their calories back down to like maintenance for like a month until they were kind of back in that hypertrophy stage. So we were losing out on about like 4 to 6 weeks of hypertrophy. Whereas when we go, right, you've run this program for like 16 weeks, right, what exercises are stalling and what ones are you still making progress on? There might be like 3 exercises per workout that they've stalled on. So it's right, let's just swap those out. But we're only going to do, if you've got 4 sessions a week, we're only going to change 2 sessions. And I want you to run those 2 sessions for 2 weeks. And then I'm going to change the other 2 sessions. And when I've run it like that, I found that they've been able to progress better because they're not completely changing everything. So it's not new neurological adaptation for every single exercise, just those 2 exercises or 3 exercises, which is enough to start things growing again because the stimulation is novel enough, but not so much so that all growth in terms of hypertrophy just stops, which means I can keep food high and we can keep pushing the hypertrophy stage like much more effectively. So I think I'm going to implement that, especially during a building phase, like moving forward. During a dieting phase, it's not as much of an issue, I don't think, just because I don't want them to be in dieting phases for like 16, 20, 24 weeks. It's more going to be 12 weeks as a block. And then we can have a bit of a what do you call it, a diet break anyway. So if I was going to change the program, it'd be during that diet break.
Yeah, no, that's good. I think you make a good point there. Like when, when is it the right time to change an exercise? Because I think sometimes, what do they talk about, like muscle confusion or shit like that? And then
Oh yeah,
some people
shocking the muscle.
Yeah, it's like you have to change exercises every 3 to 4 weeks. I guess I did that when I first started coaching people. I would change things every 3 to 4 weeks. He's like, yeah, you got to keep it moving. And so I don't, like you said, I just don't think it is, because there is a curve, a learning curve of you getting an exercise. It's almost like you've got to know when is the right time to switch up an exercise. And I think it's when you can't add a rep or not, maybe a set or like any more weight to the exercise, like continuously. You might get the odd week where you have a bad week, but you kind of know that's not the main reason.
What I would always say with that is, if you're stalling for 2 to 3 weeks and a deload week and adding more food, don't see you making progress again. So 9 times out of 10, if somebody's stalled, they've probably just accumulated too much fatigue. They just need to have either a week of lower volume or just a week off the gym. And then when they come back, they'll probably start seeing it moving again, or they're not eating enough, so they're not recovering. So what I would always say to somebody is, 1, bump up your calories 10% and see if that gets things moving again. And if that doesn't, keep that 10% bump in calories, but drop your volume in half, or just take an extra 2 or 3 days rest days that next week to relieve some of that fatigue. So that would normally take then 2 weeks. If on that 3rd and 4th week things are still stalling, then look at the exercise choice and what can you do that's going to be a similar movement pattern. So like you said, swapping out like a bench press or a dumbbell bench press, or swapping out a flat dumbbell bench press for an incline dumbbell bench press, or what's going to be so the same movement pattern, whether it's a horizontal push, horizontal pull, whatever it is, but a slightly different variation of it. And like you said, so what were you doing before you swapped in the flat dumbbell bench?
Swiss cambered bar bench.
Yeah, so very similar movement pattern. People look at them, they're going to be like, that's going to work the muscles in the same way. But as you know, like using a dumbbell, you've got all 3 planes of motion in there. It's a lot more unstable. You're probably going to be feeling that a lot more just because your stabilizer muscles having to work a lot harder. So just simple swaps like that. Like I think people are looking for that perfect program. And the honest answer is there is no perfect program. Like when I'm looking at programming, I'm programming movement patterns. I'm not programming exercises. So, for example, a push day, I'm probably going to start on some sort of horizontal push that is got quite a wide, once you've warmed up, got quite a wide degree of stabilization needed. I'm then going to go to something that is, again, another horizontal push in a slightly different plane that's a little bit more stable. And then I'm going to go to an isolation exercise. I'm then going to go into a shoulders, again, either just semi-stable or kind of like free weight. And then I'm going to go into an isolation exercise. So when I'm programming push, I'm thinking like chest and then shoulders, but I'm thinking movement patterns. And there's a certain order of exercise kind of I want to go through. For some people, that first exercise will be a dumbbell bench press because they can do that. For some people, it might be a barbell bench press because they enjoy that. For others, it might be, right, you're going straight onto a machine because you can't stabilize at this point and you've got niggly shoulders. We need to work on that movement pattern before we move you up to a dumbbell exercise. Like, there's no one size fits all program, but there's certain principles that work. And then it's our job as coaches to go, right, well, this is the appropriate exercise for you at this time.
Yeah, absolutely. You need right tools, the right, what do you call it? Using the right things at the right times. Would you say, I think it's important for like guys at training and like if you work with a coach or if you don't, when yourself, I think you start to know what exercise works for you and what doesn't.
Yeah.
And there's not like, if you're not having to squat, bench, deadlift or strongman movement or whatever for your sport, then you need to find something that works perfectly for you. So say for me, like I can do dumbbell bench pressing or bench press, like or straight bar bench pressing. I get tons of chest involvement on that. Like I really do feel it in the chest, like a lot. Whereas I've got friends that bench press, they feel it a bit, but they more feel it in their triceps or their shoulders when they're benching. So it's kind of like, it could be an exercise to use in your arsenal. But then again, if you're trying to, let's say, grow your pecs and you're not quite feeling it properly in your chest, then it's probably not the right exercise for you. You need to switch it up. Same thing with machine weight. You need to find when you're using, say, like a row machine for your back, like a way to get it to move so that you really feel it in your lats as hard as possible. Because I find a lot of times people when they're rowing use mostly sort of, that sort of upper back trap area where they're kind of like hunching in the rows and that they never really feel their lats working. So you need to find the right machine for you, because there might be same machines people are like, this is the machine for you, you have to use it, it's amazing. But then when you use it, you're like, I just don't feel it. So it's kind of, you need to know what is the right exercise for you, and then maybe making the small variations on that. I would say in dumbbell pressing and shoulder pressing, I'm a big fan of paused reps. I think for most people, I think if you pause most of your reps, A, you'd feel it a lot harder, B, you'd get that mind muscle connection, and C, you probably drop a little bit of injury risk because you're really controlled on everything and you're stopping. Like loads of people tear pecs because they're like bouncing the weight off, and there's like a really quick stretch reflex on the chest, and then it fucks you up. So it's kind of like, if you can sort of pause on things, basically. I've talked about loads of times on the podcast. If you can ever find a way to make an exercise harder or feel it more in the area you want it, then that's it. You have to be very honest with yourself when you're lifting. Like, do you want to just lift weight because it's nice? And this is the same for powerlifters as well. Or do you want to do it because you're working what you need to and getting the right result? Like, I've got guys now with their powerlifting training. I'm very keen on not necessarily grinding things out, or yes, I did 5 reps but I fell forward a bit and that's fine. It's like, well, come comp day, like I don't want you to fall forward. Like, I know you can grind them out, like, because come comp day that probably might happen and you'll have the ability to grind it back up. But I think it's still quite old school to be that kind of, you gotta, like, really whatever way to get it up, because I think most
people, 9 out of 10 on every single session.
I think most people that are competing are going to accept that, yes, it might go a bit south when you're lifting, but you want to lift it that much and you know your strong points that you're going to do it anyway, like it's going to happen. Whereas in training, it's like you really need to recreate as best as you can sort of the perfect set. You look at all the best lifters in the world now, like, there's a reason guys coming through now in powerlifting, I don't know if it's the same in bodybuilding, they just seem to be so much stronger on a whole of people that used to lift. Not to say you can't discredit what the old school guys, there's still some like mind-boggling lifters, but some of what the people are doing is like especially at the lighter body weights. It's like, it's just mind blowing. And there's not just I think maybe the programming has improved a little bit. People are thinking a little bit more about it.
I think it's the exact same in bodybuilding. If you look at like the assisted side of bodybuilding, like there's been this lull for kind of like the last 10 years where a lot of the new techniques were basically kind of like coming through, and you're getting a lot more of these bodybuilders that are just like switched on all the time. They literally live and breathe it, and they're very, very methodical. They just haven't had that methodical approach, have like a Ronnie Coleman level of genetics be involved with it. So they've had these people that have come through that have had amazing genetics, and they might not have just been on it like all the time. And then they've had these people that have been super methodical, but they've not had at the end of the day, at the highest level, bodybuilding is about genetics. It's about whose body reacts best to the drugs and reacts best to the training. Same thing on like the natural bodybuilding side. Like I've been following natural bodybuilding for, when did I first compete? 2019. So I was following it for about a year before that. If you go and look back at the physiques that were around in like the late teens, like 2015, 16, up to like 2020, compared to now, like everything's taken a step up, like the level of conditioning, the level of muscularity. And I don't think it's that people are getting better at like avoiding the drugs things, because I think especially within the fitness industry now, there's less of a taboo, especially in bodybuilding, of admitting that you're on stuff. If you're in bodybuilding, if you're in mainstream.
What was it? It was on this reel thing coming up, and the guy was just going around asking everyone about their gear. You might have seen it.
Naturally or not.
And everyone's like, oh, yeah, I'm on this, and they were like, okay, cool, yeah. And there was this other guy who was like, I'm not in anything. I carry around tests to prove it. I'm like, there's quite a lot of defense on this subject here. But, yeah.
I think it's just now, like, unless you're somebody like the Liver King, who has built his entire thing. To be honest, I think he could probably have still built that size of business, with being honest, or whether he's now leaked it now because he's tired of being dishonest about it. I have no idea. But if you're in the fitness industry, you know actors take gear to get, like, Jason Momoa did not get that big for Aquaman without taking something. Same with Chris Hemsworth, same with them all. All these guys are using test, HGH, all these things, but they just can't come out because it's not accepted in the mainstream yet. But I think within the fitness industry, it's one of those things where if you're on something and admit it, it's accepted. If you claim to be natty, and then you get found out at a later date you're not, that is way more damaging to your reputation than just to come out and say you're on something. Like, so I think it's going more that more and more people are getting into these grassroots level sports, which is meaning both the assisted and the natural side of bodybuilding and powerlifting are growing because there's a wider audience for it. I think the last 10 years, the whole fitness thing has been pushed really heavily because of social media and because people aspire to be kind of like these people, but you're also then getting the real personalities coming out that are going, look, this bikini girl, she is not healthy. She does not look like that all year round. Please stop believing this bullshit and buying these people's products because she is only showing you what she looks like at competition time. Same with this men's physique guy. He is on juice. He can look like that all the time. Like, stop buying their shit and go to the real people who are giving you the real information.
Yeah, no, it's yeah, you have to have that sort of bullshit filter, don't you? I saw a post the other day where they were showing how people on their Instagram use filters or Photoshop or whatever to show their picture like real fake, as in like side by side. You're like, bloody hell, that's quite something, like the difference. Yeah, yeah, I guess it's hard to find out because I guess like maybe we're of an age where we can kind of tell a bit or
I think because we're involved in the industry, we know the tricks. I've had some guy message me on Instagram being like, I'm a Photoshop expert, blah, blah, blah. Would you like me to touch up your photos? Here's some examples of my work. And there are some very well-known fitness influencers like on there. And it's just like, do you bring yourself like down to that level to be able to compete with these people, or do you still try and be open and honest? Like, I'm not being funny. Like, my business, I don't need 1 million followers for me to be able to run my business. I need 30 people who believe in my process, and I will be a very, very good coach then. There's over 10, I think I've got 10.6 thousand followers on my Instagram, but I go in there every single day and I speak to people and I offer advice, and I do it for free because I love what I do. I love this industry. I love helping people, helping guys like lose the body fat. If I can have a conversation with you, give you a tool, you go away and apply it, and it has a positive impact on your life, that's a big win for me. I really enjoy that. Like, if you need my help to be able to take this mountain of information that's out there and go, right, implement this first, then this, then this, then this. That's all coaching is. Like, the information we give out as a coach is freely available on Google. I'm not going to deny that. It's why I give away a lot of information for free. What people pay me for is to go, right, you're here. You want to get here. This is the first brick you need to lay. Go away and do that really, really well. Okay, you've got that nailed down now. Here's the next one. Focus on this. Here's the next one. Focus on this. So it takes it from being, holy shit, I'm overloaded. I have no idea what I'm doing. There's too much information, to go, here's a step-by-step process to get there. Let me hold your hand through it. When something gets difficult, I can help pull you back on track.
Yeah, I mean, that's there's information on anything you want anywhere. Like, if you want to get a degree, I think all the courses are literally online. Like, if you want to do a course, you can literally find them all online. It's not about that. Yeah, it's yeah, that's why there's no secret thing or whatever. It's like just having someone there to go. Obviously, someone that understands it better and can, maybe have some apply the experience and other things they've used. But yeah, I mean, the information is all out there. That's the joy of the internet. You don't just have to look at cat videos and Instagram reels.
Yeah. Well, it's like my stepson. He gets all his fitness information like from TikTok. So he's been going to the gym for about a year. He's been having some really good results.
Yeah.
But his chest just will not grow.
God damn it! Give us some steroids.
Well, basically, his mum pointed it out the other day and was like, "Mum, I know what I'm doing." And she was like, because I was sat on the laptop doing some work. She's like, "Why don't you ask DJ?" Like, this is literally his career. I was like, okay, so what rep ranges are you using? He's doing 8 to 12. How many sets? 3 sets. Okay. Why don't you do a heavy first set of 6 to 10 and then back it off to a set of 8 to 12 and go to failure across all 3 of those ranges? Oh, I hadn't thought of that. Okay. But that's, again, I know, right, you've been struggling with this body part. You've been doing this particular thing. Why don't you try and switch it up? But you just kept doing the same thing over and over again. And I think this is the trap a lot of people fall into, is that they find something that works initially and then it stops working, but they're comfortable there. And they don't know what they don't know. They don't know to try something different. Like, the amount of guys that I see that train at home and they just train purely in powerlifting rep ranges of 1 to 3, and they've never done any hypertrophy work. They suddenly do some hypertrophy work, do higher rep ranges, say 8 to anywhere up to 20, do that for 3 months, and they go back to their strength training holy shit, I'm stronger. And it's yeah, because you probably built some muscle.
Yeah, bigger muscle can be a stronger muscle. Yeah,
100%. So how are you getting on diet wise? You said you were trying some intermittent fasting before Christmas,
for the most part. I'm still fussy and then still drink, still eat stuff. Yeah, I just kind of find I try to keep my window from midday till about 6 or 7, probably 6. I just finished one. Basically, I have a child's evening time meal, as in I can't get past 5 o'clock without being starving. So I eat at 5, when the babies eat, and then get to about like 6, and I'm kind of done for the day. I just kind of leave it there, and it is working. I mean, I guess I'm built in enough buffer, so if I do go a bit further, say on a Friday or Saturday, I've got room for it still to come down. But yeah, it's kind of the way for me. It works. It just works. It's just a easy way.
Means you don't have to think about it, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's almost like having no choice helps you make a choice.
Yeah.
Because sometimes, like, the joy of macro tracking, yeah, it's great, but once you can have anything, you're like, oh my god, like I'd use so much mental space to work out how to fit something in for the food, and I'd be like, oh, look what I've done. Like, never mind that you've just used up like an hour of thinking time to work out how to have, like, I don't know, a fucking chocolate bar or something. I was like, it's just not worth it. So now, for where I'm at headspace wise, I'd rather just not have to make that choice. And no, these are the rules. Drink at this time. It always starts with black coffee. I always find if I have like flat white or something, or like just instant coffee with sugar and milk in the morning, it just kind of sets the ball in the wrong direction. And so I like the habit of, if I have a black coffee, it normally seems to keep me on the straight and narrow.
Yeah.
In terms of the
Did you see that podcast? The one with was it Diary of a CEO, the nutrition guy that came on? It's been causing quite a stir. So basically, he's what does he call himself? He's a scientist, he's a nutrition scientist, and he was banging on about the microbiome basically being like the most important thing. Like, calorie tracking doesn't work, intermittent fasting, it's a bit.
And like Ben Carpenter and I think Lane Norton did a reaction video to it, didn't they?
Yeah, so it's one of those things. I think I agree to a point. I think the microbiome and eating for your gut health is very, very important. I think people that are like myself, who are more of the tracking isn't necessarily for a calorie deficit. I mean, it has that side effect, but it's also making people more aware of what they are eating. So most individuals that I coach, when they come to me, they don't have an absolutely terrible diet. They're not like eating Mars bars 5 times a day. They normally have like 3 main meals, which are normally fairly good. It's not the main meals that's the problem. It's the mindless eating between them. And by getting somebody to track and become aware of like where these extras are kind of coming in, then they stop kind of doing that and they start thinking about the food that they're eating a little bit more. Because I've also had people that have come in and they've gone, oh, well, I eat healthily, but I can't lose weight. It's like, okay, and you look at their diet and it's like, yeah, the majority of the food in here is like decent quality. I don't think you're logging everything. And 2, like, what are your portion sizes like? And like, you look at it and they have a plate of pasta, but the entire plate is like overflowing, or they eat way too much of these like calorie dense healthy foods, if that makes sense, or they like eat too much nuts or whatever it is. And just by becoming aware and controlling portion sizes, but remembering it's that 80-20 split, so trying to have 80%. I try not to use the word like healthy, because I hate it, because it's demonizing food as bad or good, but like 80% nutrient dense, single ingredient, all the stuff you should be eating, and then have fun with the 20%. Like, I think it just makes people more aware, so they make better choices. They tend to choose the stuff that comes from that category anyway, because it tends to have less calories in it. Like, if something is ultra processed, it's going to have more, it's going to be calorie dense and less nutrients in there. So I think it's like a balance between the two. I think a lot of people will just, I don't have to like watch the amounts that I'm eating, but a lot of people have been eating this ultra refined Western diet for so long that like their hunger signaling is all over the place. So if you just start like filling them full of fiber and like just completely get rid of all those foods, their digestion is going to be awful to start off with, because it's too much of a swing. It's that all or nothing sort of thing.
Yeah, I always like people getting on fucking meat and fruit, mate. It works.
Yeah, meat and fruit.
Like, change to meat and fruit. You like vegetables as well, but like just meat and fruit. I find some vegetables I I don't know if it's that I don't like. I just don't think. If something's making you like overly gassy or like fucking up your immune system, sorry, the way you're eating, I don't think it could be. I don't think it's right. Like, I guess beer fucks me up, so I shouldn't really be drinking that. I just find if something's like making you fart loads or mess you up a little bit, you don't feel that great after eating it. You have to have a real think if that food personally is for you, even though it should be technically healthy. I think you
Yeah,
need to have a real think.
I think there's a lot more. I think the problem is everybody's looking for that, like the magic pill, the magic diet, the thing that is like it's simple and it's easy to follow. Whereas actually, I think especially with nutrition, there is more nuance to it. There's more individuality. Like you've probably experienced it. Like when you've had two clients come on board, they could be coming from like they could have the exact same weight, exact same body fat percentage. You stick them on the same diet, which on paper should be fine. One of them will lose 10 pounds in like 3 months. The other one will lose like a pound, even though you've done the exact same things with them. So there's a lot of individuality that kind of comes into this sort of thing. And I think a lot of people forget that it's one of those things. Yes, there's going to be certain things that work for certain people. However, it might not work for you. You might have trigger foods. Like some people can eat the exact same thing, but if you're doing like a blood glucose like thing, one person will get a horrendous glucose spike from say like a croissant, and another one could eat that exact same thing and their blood sugar just stays level, which is when people are like, oh, you're lucky you can eat anything and you don't put on any weight. Probably it's down to how their body manages their glucose levels. And there's a lot of, you wouldn't know that unless you got tested for it. So like just going on a low carbohydrate. So I don't know if you've ever done keto, but keto works because basically you can't eat anything. So, and then people wonder why they then can't concentrate, because one person will get into ketosis in 3 days and start making these ketones so their brain can actually function. Another person, it takes them a month to get that exact same state, and they've got brain fog from day 2 to the end of the month. And then as soon as you slip up and have a few carbohydrates on that, you come out of ketosis, which then means that it's going to take you another month to kind of get back there. So that's why some people get on with it really fucking well, because they can get to that state within a couple of days. Whereas others, it takes so long, it's just not worth it. And they're going to end up binge eating.
Yeah, agree. Yeah.
Cool. So what are the plans for you for this year in terms of like, have you got anything like that you're working towards? Is there anything business-wise, training-wise? Like, have you set yourself any goals for anything? Or is it just tick along, try not to kill any of the children because they're winding you up and just see how it goes?
No, I don't really have any goal. It's weird. I've never really been that much of a goal-oriented person. Like, it doesn't work for my brain. Like, I guess for some people it really does work when you write it down, you work towards it, and I think it's fantastic, and it is for a lot of my clients. But kind of, yeah, I don't know. I feel like sort of flop my way around, I guess.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind being lean as fuck for the summer. Would be nice. Basically, I want to like an off-season bodybuilder. That'll make me happy. And then just get to the point where you can whip your shirt off and you're like, I'm really happy with how I am. Like, I am happy, but like proper like buzzing with how you are. Like then I'll be happy. And then business wise, keep doing what I'm doing and more gigs, help more people, that kind of shit.
Yeah.
What about you, mate?
So I compete again this year. I'll be back on stage anywhere from September up to November, depending on how prep goes. So my prep will start end of Feb, early March sometime. So in the meantime, I've got to kind of get the business to a point where I'm happy with it, because I know July sort of time, my head's probably going to go because I'll be far too lean. So it's making sure that things are in place, systems are in place to be able to support people. Because I can still get the support in, it's just trying to juggle everything. So I'll probably be looking to take on a member of staff kind of like around there to be helping me with the coaching side of stuff, which is quite cool, just because with the way things are going for January, I'm probably going to need to offload some of my clients onto somebody else to help out. Probably going to go for a female trainer and try and tap into the mum side of the market, because obviously I've been really focusing on the dad side of it, but a lot of the problems that dads have, mums have as well. There's just a slightly different coaching methodology in terms of coaching women to men, I feel. I can be a little bit too direct and not, what's the word? Mindful of like how I'm putting things across and listening. So I'm quite, right, here's the problem, here's the solution, go and do it.
Sounds no worries. I yes, did. I'm actually good to see you, man. We'll catch up.
No worries. Where can the guys find you if they want to come and see you lifted?
Babo's Beans on Instagram and Dan Frazier on Facebook.
No worries. And you guys can find me at the Dad Bod Coach on both Instagram and Facebook. So enjoy the rest of your day, mate, and I'll speak to you again soon.
Awesome, buddy. Take care, mate.
Bye.